Yeah, like,
Hello, everyone. We are students from IIFT Delhi, and we're here to assist you in the process of converting IIFT from here. We assume that the people who are interested in the video right now are those who have received a call, and we are here to speak about everything that you will go through until the time you convert IIFT, which will involve a lot of things. You will be required to write your SOP and then VAT and then GD. Then you'll be required to appear for the final personal interview. And that is how you'll get a final list. I'd like everyone here to please introduce themselves, and then we can go ahead with the session in a structured format. Shashank, you can start.
So, hello guys, congrats for making it till here. I'm Shashank Tiwari, and I'm an engineer. I'll be interning at Dr. Reddy's Laboratories, and currently I am majoring in finance and marketing from IIFT Delhi. Over to you, Aman.
Good evening. I am Aman. I am a computer science engineer, and after that, I have had two years of work experience in the IT sector. Currently, I am majoring in marketing and strategy at IIFT Delhi. Bhoomika, go ahead.
Hello, everyone. I am Bhoomika Mohan. I am going to be interning at Godrej Consumers Product Limited. I am majoring in marketing and strategy and minoring in finance and trade. I have a BCom honors, after which I worked at a newspaper company for a year. And yeah, that's about my background. Yeah. So we would now like to start the conversation by talking about the SOP form that you will receive. It's called CV, a CV form here. Most other colleges like NMIMS give you a SOP form and something of the sort. So I would like any one of you who thinks has relevant information about the SOP form to take over and talk about it a little bit, and then we can all talk about it.
So, you'd be getting a series of questions in the SOP form, which would range from your basically from your HR questions and your WorkX questions also. So, like questions like tell me about yourself. So I'm giving you a broad overview. We'll also be telling you how to counter those questions and how to write the answers. But the main questions would be tell me about yourselves, why do you want to do an MBA? What motivates you? What are the challenges that you have faced? What was the biggest challenge that you have faced in your life? And so these sort of questions primarily, I think 8 to 9 questions would be there.
Okay. I have also written down some of the questions. I'd just like to add to what Shashank just said. The CV form that we received had a few questions like your favorite areas of discussion on social networking site, situation where you had to prioritize, incident that changed your perspective towards life, global event that is going to have a long-term impact on the world, an instance of team building from your life, professional achievement, innovative idea that you have worked on, why management. These were some of the exact questions that I received from in our CV form. Aman, you'd like to say something?
Yeah, say that for the question, if the question asks something related to current affairs, so like if they ask any major event that's happening in the world right now, so I mean, what I remember is back in my time, people used to say that don't mention anything that is very popular right now, because you can because the interview might not appreciate that everybody is writing the same thing. But I would like to disagree with that. I mentioned something that was very conventional back in that time. That was the Russia-Ukraine war that was happening last year. So it's not that you don't have to. You cannot mention something that is not very up in the news right now. So that is not how it works. So yeah, you have the flexibility in that, I would say. Don't hesitate.
I mean, being a foreign trade college. Yeah, Bhoomika, you want to say something?
I just wanted to tell the topic I wrote about. It was semiconductor crisis. So you can take anything of sorts. Yeah.
There are a lot of things happening. I mean, being a foreign trade college, you could, even if there's a prevalent event that's happening, like Russia-Ukraine war is still continuing, you can tell about how it impacts the foreign trade agreements, and there are multiple aspects to it, right? So you can always highlight such aspects which would make the interviewer go, of course, I mean, he can ask questions from there. So it is all about baiting the interviewer into asking such questions which you have knowledge about. So whenever you write, let's say, tell me about yourself, I can't answer it. So you always try to put your hobby at the end of it. let's say you're good at, let's say you watch a lot of movies. So I particularly for myself, I watch a lot of movies. I always put in the end that I like watching Hollywood movies. So there was one interview where in the whole interview process, they asked me about the movies itself. So it's about waiting the interview. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I would say.
Yeah. Aman, you can go.
You go ahead, You go ahead.
Okay. A few pointers I just wanted to give here. While writing your SOP form, make sure that you give a story format to it. If you can bring in an instance from your life and then say, yes, here I think I proved team building capabilities and I think I can take this further. This was the time when I showed time management skills and I think I can carry this forward. This looks more reliable and more authentic than just saying that, yes, I think I'll be able to manage time well, I prioritize well. Don't say a lot of good things about you outrightly. Always try to back them up with a story or some instance from your life that you have been through.
Yeah, one point I'd just like to add to this is if you're mentioning something that's happening in the world or something, I would say that please include the business implications of that. You might want to include that because that is what they would like to see, right? How do you understand the impact that it has on the world of business? So but yeah, you would want to add those points, but at the same time, you need to know what you're talking about, because everything that you've written over there, they can question you. So be thoroughly prepared with everything that you mentioned over there. Don't just write something for the sake of writing it, because it can backfire. Right? Yeah.
Yeah. One last thing I have to say about the form is that there is a question called, is there anything else that you want to tell us about yourself? Most people leave it blank or think that the form was so extensive anyway that we don't need to come ahead and write anything else. And also you always have that sense of insecurity. Whatever I'll write in the form can be questioned. So you want to keep as less information as possible about yourself there, but don't try to do that. Even though I was not very active on social media for those years, but I still wrote things like, I talk a lot about poetry and I talk a lot about books there, because I know if I'll be questioned about books, I will have a few things to talk about. So use that, and use that question where they ask you to tell anything that is left in the form that you want to tell. You can talk about an achievement that changed your perspective. You can talk about your background. If you have gone through something tragic, you can mention that it changed me, but make sure that you add a lesson after it. Don't just write it for the sake of it. Always conclude by saying that this is what I learned from it, and this is how I want to carry this forward. Oh,
and
okay then.
I think you can also follow the STAR approach while writing down the answers, because first you have to mention the situation, then the task, what you did, and the action that was taken, and then what was the result. Because STAR approach, if you follow a structured approach, then it will also help you in structuring your answers pretty well. And then they always like the results. So let's say you faced a challenge. What did you learn from it? Because an open-ended story nobody likes, right? So the result is what matters to the interviewers.
Right, makes sense. Okay, guys, we'll now move to the next part. Immediately after your CV form is submitted, you will now get a call for the process. Now, we'll talk about WAT, which is the written ability test. I think Shashank would like to speak about it a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. So what happens is, in your final selection criteria, there's 40% weightage which has been given to the WAT, GD, and PI. So they do not disclose it, but people think that WAT contains 10 and GD contains 10 marks, and your 20 marks are constituted by your PI process. So talking about WAT, if you see, WAT is basically an essay, right? So it is not a test of your English language skills. It is basically a test of your structure, how structured you are and how articulate you are. And for WAT, what you can do is that you can go through a range of topics. Read thoroughly. In these days, you have to read a lot. I mean, be it general awareness or, you should also go through some abstract topics, because black and white, these can be some topics which can catch you off guard during your VAT process or your interview or your so before, what happened, an extemporary process was also taking place, but this time what we have heard of is that your GD and VAT process will take place. So get a hold of those abstract topics also. Now you should also practice in a timed manner, practice with a pen and paper, and adapt to the allowed length of the passage. I mean the essay. They can ask you to write a 250 word essay or a 500 word essay. but you have to adapt. So if you know a topic, go into the depth of it and try to link it to another topics, right? Let's say some geopolitical issue like semiconductor crisis is happening. It can also be linked with the Russia-Ukraine war. So you need to know multiple aspects of a certain thing that has been happening in the world. So that will help you in adapting to the length of the passage. You can follow an intro, then an approach which contains the intro, the body, and the conclusion. So in the introduction, what you can do is you can introduce the topic and set the flow. Then in your body, what you can do, you can delve in deeply into the topic, and your conclusion can contain summary of the points. So this is how you can.
Okay. Yeah, Aman, you
Yeah,
can go ahead.
just one point I would just like to add to this. For us, there was not a VAT process last year, but you might want to take a similar approach that we used for extempore preparation last year. What we did was we formed small groups, right? So we practiced in, a lot of people used to practice in small groups. So you come in front of the group, they give you a topic and just we used to speak, and you might want to write something or within a timed manner, and then you might want to send it to others so that they can grade it and tell you where to improve. So that is one approach you can take, because you cannot just simply go to this process. It would be ill-advised to just go to the process without any kind of some kind of practice. So this is one way you might want to approach this. Yeah.
Okay. Now I'd like to tell you that I and Aman were in the same extempore group where we used to practice, and we both ended up converting IIFT. We had seen each other speak a lot. We'd given each other a lot of topics. We used to judge each other. Try making those groups right now, because it's the best time. Everybody wants to practice, and you need to find the right kind of people that you can have a practice with, and you can trust them with the kind of information they give back to you, with the kind of feedback they give back to you. Now I appeared for IIM Indore's VAT process, where the topic was related to electric vehicles in India. I think the first thing that strikes you as soon as you get a topic is that, do I have enough knowledge about it? Can I write substantial information that will be valid right now? So however much you're good at writing, I used to work as a newspaper editor, but if I didn't have statistics or some numbers to say, at least something to start the argument with, or to defy the construct that other people are going to make against the topic, I wouldn't be able to make it, right? So knowledge is the key. First of all, you need to read a lot. You need to write a lot. Please start following blogs and channels that give you current affairs information enough for you to remember for long while, so that you can write about it if it comes to that. Secondly, I am a big believer of proofreading. As an editor, my work used to be to sit on the desk and read the things that will go to the newspaper. It's very important. There are very silly mistakes that you just do for the in the hurry of it, and the exam is a pressure situation. You'll only get 20 minutes or so to write, and you'll need to structure. Shashank told you the structure. Go for introduction, body, and conclusion. And also make sure that you're giving examples if possible. Take some names, take some, current affair, pick anything that is going around you. Try to avoid writing any personal experience in the VAT, because it's more like an article written in the third person passive format, so that it can go somewhere and somebody reads it and understands your perspective. It's to understand your critical reasoning. It's to understand how fast you can think and how coherently can you put everything in structure. This will come only by practice. So keep writing, keep reviewing each other's work. I appeared for MICA, and there is a descriptive section in MICA where you have to type an entire story that you make on the spot, and you only get like some 15-16 minutes for that, or even lesser. I don't recall properly, but for that we used to have a lot of groups where we would just send pictures to each other. People would immediately see the picture, immediately write an article in timed manner, and we would read each other's work. It gives you a lot of perspective, right? So try making those groups, and if you do have a group, try utilizing it to the maximum, practicing VAT and reviewing each other's VAT.
And also one more point that I'd like to add: do not self-contradict yourself. I mean, nobody likes a confused essay or even a confused PI that you are not able to take a stand. Let's say, even if you're being ambiguous, be ambiguous in a very smart way. Secondly, if you are unable, as Bhoomika said, knowledge is the core, right? You need to know the content first. So you can remember the content during that time by using the pestle analysis. Like, let's say you're given some issue, you can talk about the political. So do not label it as political or economic, or you do not have to label it, but this is a way to remember. Like you can write about the political aspect of it, economic aspect of it, social, then technological, and as a pestle goes, right? So you'll be able to remember that. Maybe that will help.
Yeah, I mean, we can spend like two minutes after, like you can spend 2 minutes after your VAT is done to proofread it so that you know that there are no errors related to that. I think there's nothing very specifically different that you have to do for extempore and VAT. It's mostly the same. You just write a VAT, so you have to be good at it, just practice and you'll be done with it. I think we can now move on to, there's a question that I received. How should someone with an operations background answer why IB, and what kind of interview questions can we come across for foreign trade? Okay, we'll take that up. This should come in the PI section, but if you guys want to take this up, please do. Can you answer operation background person should answer like why international business, Shashank? How can they answer that?
All right. So why international business? Basically, what they would be searching for is not why international business. First of all, you need to answer why MBA. So you should have, you should need to have a, you have to have a, a very, maybe it can be a personal reason. Like, let's say you're already working somewhere. Of course, from an operations background, you need a certain amp in your career. That's why you're doing an MBA, right? So first of all, you need to justify why do you want to do an MBA first. Then coming on to IB, international business, you can always frame some such answers in such a manner, like due to globalization and the supply chain issues that have been happening worldwide, in a manner you'll be able to, if you ponder over it, you'll be able to relate it, that globalization and these FTAs that have been happening, like link it with the FTAs that India has gone through with UAE and Australia. Right now, they're already talking about an FTA that can happen with UK, right? So you can always link those things and prepare an answer for yourself, like operation background, let's say from supply chain issue. The questions that can come across from foreign trade would basically be, do not think about questions that will be specifically asked from foreign trade. That's what we always thought during our interview process last year. But what I can say is that they are looking for people who are aware of everything, not specifically foreign trade. You'll be taught enough of foreign trade in all the trimesters here. So you need to have a basic idea about the trade agreements, the WTO, the World Bank, and the main organizations that facilitate the foreign trades. That's what it is.
I would like to tell just a little bit of add on to what he spoke about. Trade terminologies you can learn actually. It's very easy. Just by saying things smartly, you'll be able to sound somebody who is actually interested in foreign trade. Know about what a consignment is, know what custom laws are, know what are tariff barriers and non-tariff barriers. What are the countries that we have best trade quantities with? What are the countries that we're trading most in revenue terms with? What is a trade deficit? What are HS codes? What is a trade surplus? I am not saying this will help you, but I'm just saying that if you use them during your conversation, you'll sound like somebody interested in foreign trade because you've read about them, and that is what you want to sound like when you're there, right? So make sure you do that, and ask yourself actually genuinely, like, why foreign trade, why international business? Because companies are going global, because operations and then moving to where you are coming right now will probably take a shift from for you to go global or to go larger or beyond the scale that your company is right now operating in. You can always say, people say like they get inspired by their managers. People say answers like they see their company go forward and they want to move ahead on the ladder and couldn't move ahead until they did an MBA or something. But I would say don't take generic answer. Even the answer that Shashank just narrated to you should not be taken directly because it will sound fake. It should come from your life. Yes, Aman.
Yeah, just to add to what you both have said, if they ask you why why MBA and IB, first of all, as Shashank mentioned, you might want to first, the more important question that they're asking is why MBA. Yeah, for as they mentioned, it follows kind of a structure that basically you need to tell there is a link that is formed. You have to tell that where you are currently, where you have to be, and how MBA is going to get you over there. So this is the structure. This should be the general structure of the answer. So, and it should be very, customized to your own specific situation. So make sure you do think about it in a lot of detail. And if they ask you why MBA and IB specifically, I just like to add that a lot of subjects here in IFT are slightly different, because they do teach with a certain international perspective in mind. So that is one point that you might want to include, that I'll be getting knowledge of MBA, as well as whatever I'll be getting with a enhanced flavor of international perspective to it. So that is something that I would say that most of the people that I have interacted with here, they've included this in their answer, that the curriculum is designed in a way that is going to specifically help you in the international scenario, not just the domestic scenario. So that is one point you might want to agree or add to the
Okay.
answer.
Just for your reference, if you somehow, sorry, Shashank, just to attach to the last question, if you want to know the subjects that we study, few subjects that I can remember right now is international trade, documentation, and documentation, right?
Documentation, right?
And
international marketing management,
international finance,
marketing,
and then we do, specifically trade subjects I'm talking about, so that they can somehow, if they want to use it in one of the answers, they can use it. There's a subject I'm studying, management of global sourcing. There's another, we have agri commodities and trade. There are subjects related to, like, specifically and completely related to trade and logistics and everything that goes there.
You could go ahead.
Use it.
Yeah. You can always go ahead with the basics of trade, but do not shed more time into it, because they really want to know the person you are, the fluency that you carry, the structure that you have. If you have a structured answer, that is what they like. So
yeah. Okay, Shashank, another question. I think we can take it later, because we need to complete GD and PI process. It's on my mind to take this forward like that. Then we'll take all the questions later. So talking about GD, immediately after that, you will go into a GD group where they'll make you sit around, and then you guys will need to speak to each other. Aman, would you like to start by telling how to take forward the GD process?
Yeah, I do have a few pointers to say in the GD process. First of all, it is generally advised that you try to take an early entry in the GD. It's a general piece of advice that that's given. It's a convention that's followed. But there are a few things that you need to keep in mind. First of all, do not keep on blabbering just like that, just for the sake of saying. Keep the point that you are trying to say. The point has to be crisp, because that is also one pointer that they're judging you on, that how clearly can you convey information. Don't just beat around the bush, right? Whatever you're saying, be crisp. Yeah, I would say the quality of the point really matters a lot. It's not just that you haven't got an entry till now, so you just have to say anything. You need to be very clear what you're saying, right? So the content of the point that you're making, that is also something that should be a lot of there should be a lot of importance should be given to that. Yes, please do show support for the people who are in the GD with you. It's not that you're fighting somebody. It's a conversation. It's a discussion. So whenever you are interacting, you need to be very respectful towards them. And if somebody's speaking, if they are speaking and you're not supposed to interrupt anybody, make sure that you don't interrupt anybody. And if somebody is not speaking, you might want to give them the chance. If somebody hasn't got the chance to speak till now, that is also something that shows that you are a group and a team, team player. That okay, you might want to say that okay, please let this person speak. That shows camaraderie and just sort of goodwill. And please do keep in mind the body language that you're showing, because it's going to be an offline GD. So you might want to keep a smile and sit straight and just keep the basic posture things in mind. And lastly, one last point was that these things won't happen just like that. You need to practice it a lot. So in the group that we had already found for extempore, we used to practice GD as well. So that really helped us a lot. And I would say that is something that you might also want to consider doing, forming groups you can practice online and you can practice offline as well, but do practice. You can't just go in just like that for GDs in my experience. Yeah.
Yeah, Shashank, you'd like to say?
Yeah, one or two more pointers to add to that comprehensive answer by Aman. Right. So, I mean, you also have to, do not cut people off in the middle while while making entries. Make yourself visible with quality content. Do not blabber, because that puts you in a very bad light in front of the panelist. Do not take names. Even if you know the name of some other guy, do not take names as he pointed out, or let's say, even if you know, just avoid taking names. And also, even if you have to disagree in a very professional manner, right? Do not be outright, do not take a very firm stand. You can take a stand, but in a very professional manner. Yeah, Bhumika.
Yeah, okay. I'd like to tell you, like, the harsh realities of a GD is that everybody is desperate. There are so many people, this is their best call. They don't want to lose it. They will become passionate at this moment. And since a lot of people are passionate and very few are low key, it will become a fish market. Now, what you have to do is, as Shashank told, you need to make yourself visible, but only with quality content. So as soon as the GD starts, if you don't get a first entry, which most of you won't, because it's only one person doing a first or second entry, right? Start taking notes, because this is visible now, and you are visibly included in the process. It looks like you're interested, you're listening, and you're taking notes. And then later you can say, as one of my fellow members mentioned, as a fellow from the GD mentioned, or my colleague mentioned, you can just take any, you don't have to take names, but you can just refer to them and say, initially when we were talking about this or that. I appeared for Micah's GE process, which is a group exercise. I remember we were all, it's completely different, but just an instance from that, we were all doing an activity, and then suddenly somebody came and said, guys, I understand we're all trying to be creative here, which is great, but we don't have a structure to this, right? We don't know what we're going to do next or what we did previously. So that is also a good thing. You can come in a GD and say, guys, it's been 10 minutes we're talking, but we don't have a structure. We're rotating around the same things, right? Maybe we can try giving it a structure. We can first talk about this, then we can talk about this, we can talk about this. This could be a little this could be a little intimidating. So what you can do is, if you're a third or a second member to speak in a GD, you can just right away go and say, I'd like to give the GD a structure. We can first talk about these things. If somebody has some examples, we can later talk about that. And then we'll conclude it by giving a conclusion that we have to it. And then, like Aman said, GD is a collective work. We are still looking for somebody who is collaborative, gives others the space to talk, respects people, smiles at them, or at least nods, or understands what they're saying about, is interested, does not repeat something that has already been said, because that shows that you were not aware while it was being talked about, right? Take notes. It's a collective work. Make sure that you understand the fish market as and when it starts to become. But if you have information, if you've read newspapers, magazines, blogs enough, you'll not be able to go haywire. You'll know what you're talking about. You'll be in the best situation. Yeah. Any experiences that you may want to talk about, or anything? Aman, you used to practice a lot of GD.
Yeah, we used to practice a lot. So one thing that I would say that what practice teaches you is that you need to be able to identify points where you can enter. There is always a moment of silence. There's a moment of gap when somebody speaker and the other person has yet to started to speak. Before that, if you can just identify that place where you can just enter and put your point forward, so that is going to help you a lot. That shows that okay, you are aware of the situation, and that is one thing that only practice can teach you. Yeah.
Okay, there's one more unsaid rule that is there, which you guys have to respect, that you can't cut off a girl if she's speaking. I don't much agree to the rule, but it is there, and we follow it during our internship practices and even in companies and everywhere else. If a girl is speaking and she has picked it up before you do not go ahead and cut her and say sorry or something like that. You just let her speak and then go ahead and respectfully speak next.
The GD might last, from 10 to 15 minutes maximum. So 10 minutes for discussion. And then maybe it can also happen that feedback or conclusion could happen. They might ask someone to speak who hasn't spoken. So it can happen that for 2 minutes could be given to the conclusion. Because in GD, in contrast to the debates, you have to reach to a conclusion as a group.
Yeah, and I would also give you a heads up on this, that do not make more than 3 entries in any GD, because it will look like only you want to be highlighted here. Just by 2 entries, quality work, you can show them that you know stuff, you respect people, and you speak when it comes to speaking. That will be it. Don't try to take away time from other people, because people who are low or introvert or can't really come out in front of a lot of people won't get a chance because you spoke at their place. So don't be that person. Yeah. Okay. I think that is it. We'll now move to PI. Okay, so this is like the stage. You've reached PI and you're going to sit in front of professors. Now I'll tell you, during our extempore, we didn't have GD, we had extempore. The people who took our extempore were the same people who took our interviews also. They knew everything that you had said in the extempore, and they now pick it up and say, okay, you just mentioned that, you know, some minister has said this or that. How would you justify that? Because I don't agree, because they are professors, they are people who have done PhDs and have had holistic studies on the topics you are trying to give a debate about, or a GD about, or any sort of conclusion about. So try to be very smart while giving opinionated responses in the GD, because they can be taken up in the interview. Also, in some of the colleges during my year, they asked, how did you like who did you think was the best performer in the GD? This was asked in the interview. That's who do you think was the worst performer in the GD? They can do that to you. You have to be very, very respectful, and it's best if you remember names, because it look like you listen properly. You can talk about a lot of people, like this person was good because this is the reasoning. That time they're trying to gauge you by the person you are when you give feedback, how good of a manager you are, or you can be if you respectfully give feedback to people. Don't say this person was the worst or bad. At that time, you can say the scope for improvement there was that the person was a little impatient, or the person was a little loud, didn't give others space. But I think I'm not nobody to judge right now. Respectfully, you can sway that off. So now we'll talk about PI. Anyone want to take a lead on that?
All right. So
Yeah.
Okay. Aman, you want to say?
Yes, you're saying, go ahead.
Okay. So broadly for PI, what you can do is, Aman can go ahead with the resources which will help you prepare for the PI. But as Bhoomika mentioned, that maybe it can be an extension of your GD or the WAT that you have written. Maybe they can have it in their hands, the feedback that they have about you. So they can question you on it, like it happened for us during our extempore. But broadly, what you can prepare for separately for PI is that you have to prepare for the HR questions. Why MBA? Tell me about yourself, the challenges, the motivation about that. Then comes your work ex, if you have any. You have to prepare for your work ex. You have to know your job roles, the job description that you have, how it relates to your MBA, how MBA will help you to amp up your profile, right? Then comes the general awareness part, because they can outright ask you what is currently the oil price in the international market. So this was a very famous question last year. They always asked about it because it was fluctuating a lot due to the Russia-Ukraine war. And then fourth part is, these are the 4 main parts in which you can break your PI. The fourth part is your domain, the domain that you are interested in, and the domain of your undergrad. So they can ask question. Let's say if you are a computer science guy like I was, they asked me about AI, artificial intelligence. The occurrence of chat GPT will, of course, how it is going to affect the academic procedures and all. So these are some questions that can be asked. And the domain that you're interested in, let's say you're interested in finance, you want to pursue finance, and you've written that in your CV form. You need to know what short selling is, because that is the first question that comes to my mind due to the Adani Hindenburg saga. Hindenburg is a short seller. So these are some sort of questions that will make the interviewer feel that, okay, this person is smart, he has knowledge, he has interest, he is not writing answers for the sake of writing answers, right? So these 4 sections: HR questions, work ex, your general awareness, and your domain based questions. So yeah, Aman will tell you about the resources from where you can prepare for these parts.
Yeah, yeah. First of all, I mean, before telling about some resources, I would say that some more things that you might want to know is that first of all, it's a trade college, so it's generally said that for IIFT you need to prepare the trade statistics. Some of the most important is the imports, specifically the top five biggest imports, top five biggest exports, top five countries where India imports a lot, and where India exports the most. And they can ask you why. Why is that the case, and how can we improve? So that is something that you need to, I mean, say you definitely need to be aware of, because this is a very common question for IFT. And a certain, in my interview also, and in a lot of interviews, they generally have asked about macroeconomics. For example, they've asked about what is GDP, I was specifically asked what are the different types of taxes that the government charges, what are the different rates of revenue, where does the government spend money. So this kind of general microeconomic scenario you need to be aware of. And to prepare for this, there are a couple of resources. I used to mainly prepare from YouTube. I used to follow a lot of, there's a lot of preparation channels on YouTube. So for example, there was Khan sir. I used to watch a lot of Khan sir's lectures. So he has already is covered, for example, RBI monetary policy well, and international affairs. So this kind of things, you can watch it via YouTube, via video content, and you can follow newspapers such as the Hindu or Indian Express. Well, that's one way. And a few more things that in PI you need to keep in mind is that the biggest thing that is important, that you need to keep in mind, is that you need to be calm. That I would say that being calm and being able to handle the situation is as important as how prepared you are. So that is very important. That is one of the primary criteria that I judge you on, that whether you're able to take the questions or not. Luckily for IFT, they don't conduct a lot of stress interviews, so they won't push you a lot. But still, you need to be showing that, okay, I am whatever you're asking, even if I don't know the answer. You need to be polite. You need to generally have a smile. That you need to show that you are excited to be here, and yeah, and don't worry if you don't know any kind of specific kind of answer. So they won't expect you to know everything. Even I didn't answer all the questions that I was asked. Right. And yeah, and please, the interview can go anywhere. So it's not that because that is why calmness is important. Because for me, my interview was quite different from the conventional one, because they asked me, where does your father work? And I told them aviation industry. So almost my entire interview was on the aviation industry. So it's not that it has to be related to you also. It can be anything, right? So you need to be able to be in that moment and answer whatever they're putting you. Don't panic, right? And yeah, one thing that I do observe what the mistake that people make is that when they are asked that, okay, you're working currently, and why do you want to leave the job, and why do you want to come to MBA? It's just that you need to keep in mind that you need to be very respectful towards the place that you currently work at. It's because they will see that if you come across that somebody who just want to escape and come to a different area, then they'll say like, okay, you will do the same thing after MBA as well, right? So wherever you are, you need to be very grateful that, okay, the place that has brought you here, the journey that has brought you here, right? So show that in your answers for your current organization if you're working. Yeah, and do keep a smile. Yeah, as I mentioned. And yeah, one last thing is that something related to the budget, you need to be quite well prepared, I would say, because they can ask you specifically as well. For example, if I am in the IT industry, so they can ask you what are the budget provisions which are going to impact the IT industry. So industry specific budget questions also they can ask, right? So do be thoroughly prepared with the year's budget as well. Yeah.
Just one more point that I'd like to add. That you can prepare very well from FinShots, the macroeconomics part and the current business news. So it is a very brilliant resource, because I remember in one of my interviews, they asked me, Shashank, tell me some business news that you have come across. And I was caught off guard because it was very difficult for me to, coming from a computer science background, to explain the business news further. But then I remembered at 9:30 in the morning, I've already read a FinShots article that India has crossed a $400 billion exports in value. So I explained that to him, and in the end, he said that you have read the article from FinShots today, right? So that works. I mean, you can always be abreast of those topics. Yeah, Bhoomika.
Okay, so first of all, you need to look well. It is suggested that boys go with a trimmed beard. I mean, you take your call, but you need to look like somebody who is pretty fresh, who is very clean, who knows what he's doing in life. It should not look like, you should not have like a classical attitude. It should not look like you just came to an interview because you got a call and you're here, you don't know about college. So first of all, go to the website, read about the college, know the subjects you're going to learn here, know a few professors' name. There's an amazing professor at our college called Mr. Ram Singh. Sir's videos are on YouTube. You can go and check IIFT's YouTube channel, and then he has posted a lot of logistics and trade and very open videos. I remember I watched one of his videos and I did not understand anything at all. It was very tech heavy. I mean, he talked a lot of technical constraints that you come across in trade and all that. I did not understand much, but later in my interview I ended up giving a reference to that, because even if you think you don't understand something, there's something going on in your subconscious mind, right? And they were pretty impressed. They were like, you are really passionate about IIFT because you know the professors and you know what he's teaching and all of that, right? And then my CV was a lot about public speaking and writing and, working with the newspapers, taking up projects here and there. Locations were all different. So I did not receive much about foreign trade or something, but they asked me, what are you so passionate about? And that was very open-ended question. I could have answered it in any way. I could have said studies, I could have said academics, I could have said anything. But that was the moment I took a second step back. I took a breath and I told them exactly what I wanted to be spoken about next. I spoke about public speaking. I spoke about the shows that I've done in my life because I wanted them to harp on those. Come and ask me things about the shows. Come and ask me about the people I've met and all of those things that I can speak about on the spot, right? I didn't want to take it to academics, so I did not mention that I have a BCom honors. Although I had prepared my favorite subject from my undergraduation, prepare that, prepare a favorite domain of choice that you're going to take next. In IIFT, you get to choose it in your second year. So, in the third trimester, basically, which is like in between of your first and second year. But if you know that you can say that, I'm not very sure right now, but I have slight inclination towards marketing. Once you say that, and if a professor who is sitting in front of you is a marketing professor, he is going to come at you asking questions about something. But while I say that, I do not want to make you afraid of it. Do not be fearful of the fact that he can ask me anything. So no, I'm not going to mention. I'm not going to say it, and then respectfully say things like, I think I've read it somewhere. I remember an example, but I don't remember the definition. I think I've not read it anywhere. During my undergrad, we read it, but I don't remember it. You can just say things like that, but most of all, remember things, right? Shashank told you about some of the things that you can remember academic wise. So for marketing, know a campaign that affected you, know a campaign you think can be improved, know a brand that you think is the best, is the worst for you, know things like best advertisement, or what is a BCG matrix, what is an IANSOF matrix, what is the difference between sales and marketing, why would you like to redesign a campaign for some company. For example, I always have like a campaign in my mind whenever they ask me which campaign did you like. So there's a Coca-Cola sharing machines which were established in India, Pakistan. I always give that example. It comes with a story. So most of the professors, if they're old, they don't know much about it. So I can start telling them the story, and it can eat up like 2-3 minutes right there, which will be helpful. So I'm like telling you hacks apart from what they have told. Obviously, as he said, be prepared with your undergrad, be prepared with the subject, be prepared with the general standard questions that can be asked in any interview whatsoever. And then Aman talked about how trade you need to take. Some websites that I've written, because I worked in the media industry and I was sure that this is the first thing, like all of these professors get their articles printed in one or the other newspaper. They're constantly reading. If you say you belong to a newspaper, they are going to ask you things about it, right? So anything that you think, if your industry is something like that, which is a little different from other students and can be questioned, there is a website. It's called ibef.org, where you can go and check any industry and they'll give you a comprehensive view of it. If it is FMCG, if it's media, anything at all. And for marketing, I'd like to suggest a few websites. There's a website called afaqs.com, where you'll get a lot of advertisement related news, campaignindia.in, and adgully.com, adgully.com. All of these websites dissect advertisements for you. They keep giving you inputs about anything that has been going new in the marketing world. So you can know that a little bit. And finance is pretty technical, but still, if you want to add any resources, Shashank, because it's very intimidating for people who don't have a background in finance. Maybe that could be helpful.
Yeah, for finance, I mean, if somebody who comes from a commerce background, macroeconomics is something that will do for you. And if you are from a BMS course, business studies course, then of course get a hold of your accountings and your corporate finance. Somebody who doesn't come from a background, macroeconomics is the most important thing that you need to understand, that you need to read from now onwards. FinShots will help. It will help a lot. And yes, if you want to do some courses, you can do some courses after converting the call. But for now, macroeconomics is all that you need if you do not come from a commerce background. Right? I think we should take some questions. Right?
Yeah, one last
Aman
point
would
I'd like to add to that. Yeah, for trade specifically, in fact, you can actually, even IIFT has clubs. IIFT has a club called Blash, so they have a very nice Instagram page. I used to, before my interview preparation, I used to go to that page, and they've covered the important geopolitical events that are happening, or so that is something that you might also want to read up once. The Instagram page, yeah, that is. In fact, IIFT has other pages as well.
I mean, you can go ahead and read. It's always better to sound smart and to sound interested in the college, in the professors, in the area. That is why they tell you to read about Delhi, even if you're not from here. Because if you sound interested in the place, it looks like you want to be here, right? And then, as I told you about passion, you can always talk about things that you like, prepare your hobby well, and prepare. So in my panel, there was somebody who had a similar hobby as mine, and he knew every detail of it. He knew who's the best person doing that hobby, who's the worst person doing it. I mean, not like the worst, but he knew everything in detail about it. So prepare your hobby also well enough. Anything that you mentioned in your CV form during instances, if you mentioned the name of a company that is currently in trouble, you should know about it, right? So go through your CV form again when you are preparing for your PI. Know that these are the tag words that I've used here. If I get a question, something at least I can talk about that, right? And then talk about yourself, bring out yourself, prepare for PIs as well. I think mock is the answer to everything here, for GD also, even for WAT and for PI. I would like to say, give as many mocks possible, go for as many GDs as possible. Don't exhaust or drain yourself, but at least give it a go, because then you'll sound better. Because I and Aman, I remember from the group that I'm talking about, we used to take each other's interview for 1.5 hours or 2 hours at stretch. So one person used to sit, all other 11-10 people, whoever we were in the group, we used to shoot questions at him left, right, and center and make him feel intimidated. Sometimes people would just get so drained, they would leave, they'd cry, but there was nothing that was left. I mean, all of these guys had asked me everything that could be asked to me about anything related to my CV or my background. If you find somebody like that, or a group like that, or at least give interviews to a lot of people, I think all of us are open for it. You can text us on LinkedIn, find us anywhere and ask us to take a mock interview. We are pretty open to do that.
So I think we should go ahead with the questions now.
Okay.
Any idea on how many seats are there in Delhi and Kolkata campus? There are around 250 seats, right? 258 seats to be accurate in Delhi, and 253 seats in Kolkata, I guess.
But that we cannot tell actually. This is the batch size that he's telling from in. I mean, I don't think there are exact seats as such. It's just that people leave and drift off, and then the seats become. Yeah. It seems like the batch size is less.
It depends upon the converts.
Yeah.
Right, but of course, these many converts can happen. These many people can be accommodated.
And even this year, since the calls have been given to 4,000 people and a lot more than what happened last year, it is expected that there are more seats. Obviously, otherwise they wouldn't have gone ahead and given like 2,000 more calls. So be open with that. Don't worry about these things.
Yeah, this question I'd like to take. If somebody has a little weak English fluency, I would just say that this is something that if it bothers you, it will bother the interviewer as well. Whenever you're speaking with the interviewer, you need to be speaking with a lot of confidence. First of all, it's what if you are able to convey what is in your mind, if you're able to make them understand what you're saying, then I think you should be good. It's not that if you're not very fluent that you won't get in and all, right? If you understand, if the interviewer is able to understand you, then I think you should be good. Yeah, don't worry about it. Yeah, I would say.
Yeah. So another question: are there chances for conversion for a candidate just clearing cutoff score with a great GE, PI, VAT? Of course there is, because if you see, then the cutoff score for the first round of selection after clearing the exam was 73% weightage has been given to the exam itself. But now there's only 45% weightage in the final selection criteria given to the exam and 40% weightage to the GEPI VAT procedure. So if you kill it, then of course you're in. And there was one more question related to it. Can we get into IIFT? I was shortlisted with 50% total. Just be confident about yourself. Nail the interview GEPI VAT process. I'm sure anybody can make it if they do well in it.
Yeah, I'd give you a little, like, there are people with 99 plus percentiles in IIFT Kolkata, and there are people with, say, 90 or 92 or 93 percentile in IIFT Delhi as well. None of them is bad or good. None of them is lesser or more. But I'm just saying that there are all kinds of people here, people from all kinds of background, people with less, people with CAT percentile as low as, say, 50% or something. So it is not that it's just a bad day. We all know it, but in the books and in terms of numbers, if we talk about it, you never know. It's now in your hand. You have got the call. They are sitting there. So many professors waiting for you to go through the entire VAT, GDPI. They're spending money on it. They're doing everything. They're giving the time. It's for some purpose. You're there substantially. It's valuable. Do not self-doubt yourself. If you've got the call, work hard, whatever be your percentile and anything. If you make it well enough in your GDPI, if you leave a mark on them, they are going to pick you up, whatever be the case.
Yeah, this question that what if you're the last person and all the points have been covered? There was a question about this earlier. I would say that if you're the last person, then it's a very good thing because you can make the concluding remarks, right? You have the time.
It's not true. You never speak sequentially in a GD. Please don't be in that. I mean, you're just thinking it wrong. It never happens like so. Please speak up as soon as you get a moment.
Yeah, but if you've made a couple of entries, go ahead.
Yeah, if the GD is moderated and the panelist in itself is, saying that now this person should go ahead and the next person should go ahead, then of course, as Aman mentioned, that if you're the last person, you can make the concluding remark and you can, give a structured answer, structured conclusion, and that will of course be impactful towards the end because recency bias will take place, right? So that's what Kik said.
Yeah, the context that I was saying that if you already made a lot of entries and everybody is done with the thing, and if you're waiting to make the concluding remarks, is a very good thing because then it shows that you were listening to everybody. Whatever the new points were there, if you are able to incorporate all those points in what you speak, then that shows that you can definitely work in a team and you can understand.
Sorry. I can't hear him.
Bhoomika mentioned it's not that it's going to go in a sequence. So yeah, that's not true. Yeah.
Okay, somebody said grammatical errors and little pauses will affect negatively or not. Try not making it, and how can you work on that is by practicing, right? If you speak enough, if you do GDs enough, if you do PI mock PIs enough, you will not make grammatical silly errors, and you won't take pauses like that. But even if you take it, if you're just like Aman said, what you feel is what they feel. If you feel insecure and small, and if you feel little in front of everybody else, if you feel intimidated, it will show, and they'll also feel the same. So feel confident, even if you take some pauses or some errors here and there, it won't matter in front of the quality that you bring on the table.
There's another question. If I'm interested in building a career in global corporate communications, can I mention it in the interview even if IIFT is not a communication specific B school? Would it be a disadvantage? No, it won't be a disadvantage. You just know, you should know how to structure it and how to link it with, let's say, go and find out the communications related companies that arrive in the IIFT campus, right? Like I cannot name them, but you can go ahead with the placement report, find it on the IIFT website, and then you can link it with those companies, like what those companies are doing, and the stuff that you want to do, and you can always link it that you want to be in that managerial position and facilitate the processes in that industry. So management is basically building you a manager. It is not building you a specific sort of manager that you can always choose.
Yeah.
You have the autonomy to do that.
I would like to speak of an instance here. I was asked in my interview what was my dream company. I had seen the placement report. I had seen the companies. Since I come from a media background, I said HT Media is my dream company. I'm looking forward to it. And it actually was my dream company. As soon as I spoke about it, the professors had a laugh among themselves and they were like, how do you think you'll fit in there? That is not the role we are offering. And how much do you know about the role anyway? So they dug deeper into it. There I said, I don't know about the role. I just like the company because I've worked in the media industry. But that's what I'm aiming for. That'll look good because it looks like the person knows about the places around the companies, the placements. We have CCCs here, club cells and committees. Know about that, read from the website, make notes of it, and then speak about it. One more thing, don't land yourself in unnecessary, uninvited, unsolicited situations where you feel embarrassed. And if you do land up there, I have a habit of speaking more than required mostly. So I think I landed up in a place where I didn't want to dig deeper, but the professors caught it and they wanted to speak about it. And they knew I don't know. And they also knew I was not giving up and I was just speaking and trying to beat around the bush. They immediately stopped me, after 2-3 levels of interaction. They were like, we know you don't know about it. Would you just accept it so that we can move ahead? So don't make that mistake. Just say, if you land in a situation where you don't know what to do further, just say, I'm really sorry. I don't recall right now. I'm really sorry. I'm not aware. And this is not something I can talk about right now because I'm not informed enough. Yeah.
Can you repeat the Insta page name, please? So it's the trade one, right? _IIFT. So there are many the club cells pages, Instagram pages. You can go ahead and find them. And there are many clubs and you can find that information on Insta itself.
Yeah, the marketing club here is called Brand Vegan. The finance club is called Capital. The trade club is called Blash. Mostly these are the ones related to academics.
Been 2 years since graduation. Should I focus more on academic subjects as I've forgotten most syllabus? So what you can do is even if you can prepare, let's say 1 or 2 subjects that you were most interested in, like as I mentioned, that you can always bait the interviewer, right? Like for me, myself, if I have to, let's say there has been 2 years since graduation. Let's say I am interested in I was interested in algorithms or database management systems. So I will in some way or form, I will insert that into my answer that this was the subject that I was most interested in. And then I'll link it to something else that I know of. So you have to be very smart in a very subtle manner, right? You can always prepare 1 or 2 subjects in order to be confident about your syllabus, your undergrad.
Yeah, there's a question, Aman. I would like to take the first part. You take the second part of the question. Do age and gap years matter? Because I know people. We have somebody in our batch who is, not somebody, a lot of people who are older than 27, 28. Even we have people who are 30-year-old and older in the same batch as we study. We also have people who are 20 or have just turned 20 in our batch, right? So it is not a factor of age at all. If you're extremes or if you have if your age is way more or way less, I think it's a good thing because they are looking for you. They want to maintain that diversity and you bring in that, right? So be confident about that. And gap year have justification. I was speaking to somebody who has just converted the call 2 days ago, and he told me that he has a gap year. How can he justify? I was like, why are you asking me? Tell me what did you do in the gap year? He said, I lost my mother that year and I didn't really, I couldn't study much or do anything of sorts. So I said, say about it, right? And he said, I don't want to sound like somebody who's gaining, sympathy or something, but that's not true. If you speak about it in a way that you show that this has happened to me and now these are the lessons that I've learned, this is how I've moved on in my life, and it'll look good, right? You have cracked IIFT. It shows that you worked hard for it. So you don't have to justify anything, but you have to speak the truth. Tell them truly what you were doing in your gap year. You can substitute it by saying that you were busy in academics, busy in extracurricular activities. If you have done something, you can say you were busy with sports. If you had somebody ill in your family, mention that there was this problem. I had to take care of my younger brother all by myself. I learned a lot of things during this year. I think probably none of my academics here taught me so much as this taught me. You should know to speak these things after you speak about the tragedy. This is very important to tell them the lessons that you've drawn out of it. Yeah, Aman, you can take the second part, which talks about, is there any,
Yeah, I mean, there are instances. A very good friend of mine here has had a 3 years gap, so it's not an issue that, as Bhoomika mentioned, that's not an issue having gap years. And yeah, and percentile also, what I would say that if you think about it, they have given you a call, they've spent the effort of sending that call and inviting you for the interview. That means they're definitely interested in taking you, right? It's not that again, this is the same thing that is that if it bothers you, it will bother them. Right? Do not let this affect anything, right? If doesn't matter how they won't even know how much a percentile is. They'll just give you the weightage or the points or the marks depending on how they like you in the interview. So it has no effect. I mean, it does. I mean, if they've called you, so I would say that be confident, right? You have a chance. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, okay. I think we'd like to conclude this here. But before that, I would like each one of you to please give your 2 cents on building confidence and not feeling low and not feeling nervous, if any of you want to take that up.
I, for one, I was an introvert and I really was nervous. I can always relate to, the jitters that happen before the interview. So what you can always do is, talk to someone, give mock interviews, talk to someone close to you. And, at this point of time, you might feel that things are at stake, and things are at stake. I mean, for people who have prepared for, let's say, MBA entrance exams, who really wanted to do MBA passionately for the last 2 years, 3 years, and this is their last attempt that they are thinking of, things are at stake. We are acknowledging that. But do not even for a second think that, you are doubtful of your potential, because, of course, you have reached till here. You need to have soft skills, that's all. So try to compose yourself. Composure is very important. People can put you in a stress situation. I remember I have a friend currently studying in MDI Gurgaon, and in her interview she was asked very random questions. She had a great percentile, but her interview was totally, she thought that she has screwed up in the interview. But when the results came out, she converted in the the first chance itself. She was in the converted list. So you don't know how it is going, how they are gauging you. Just be confident. Just be correct to yourself. Do not have an outright stand. Do not be radical towards anything. Be professional. Maintain professional etiquettes, and that will do the trick. That is the just be mature during your interview. That's all.
Yeah, Aman, what would you like to say?
Yeah, I think about this calming and confidence. Yeah, I mean, first of all, everybody suffers that. Whoever is giving the interview, it's a big call for people. There are people who have only this call, right? So it does mean a lot to them. But I would say that what I did, I kept these things in perspective. I knew that, okay, this was a very big opportunity. I might. It took a lot of effort to get this opportunity, but on the other side also I convinced myself that, okay, even if things don't work out, I will do something with myself, because I managed to land this call. That means it does show that I have potential, right? So I took solace and I took confidence in the fact that I was here. I was appearing for the interview and they were interested in interviewing me. That fact in itself gave me a lot of confidence. And I used to think that even if I don't make it here, if I can do it once, I can do it any number of times, right? So that kind of gave me a lot of strength. And second thing that worked for me was that I worked a lot. I mean, I spent a lot of time in my preparation for the GDPI. I used to, scamper through all the resources. I used to study as much as I could. So when you put in that much effort, now that in itself gives you a lot of confidence that, okay, I am doing something. At the end of the day, if you worked really hard at that day, you've taken a couple of mock PIs, you've spent all the resources, you've watched the videos, read the articles, you've made the notes. So at the end of the day, there is this kind of happiness and confidence that does come, right? So that is another thing I did, that working on it.
Yeah, I during my preparation journey, I was somebody who isolated herself from all kinds of interactions. So I didn't even let my mother reach out to me much. She couldn't understand what is up and all of that. But I had internal strength, and I was always practicing and building upon it. But I would still say, even if you think you are capable enough to handle everything, all kinds of pressure, you think you can take this forward on your own, you think you're strong enough, you worked hard enough, still I would say, please seek help. As soon as you hit a moment where you feel like you don't have, you want to talk to someone, or you feel low, take the moment to feel low. That is why people who have got a who have got a call, the first thing I tell them is, did you take your time out to celebrate? Because you've reached here, please feel good. I mean, you've done something. That is how you're out of all the, all this chaos and all this race that you were in. Now it's all of you have potential. Now it's among yourselves, and some of you will reach here, some of you will reach somewhere else, and some of you will find their ways through life in other things. It is not always MBA, and it's just an MBA. It's not even that big a deal, right? So don't let the chaos of it, the noise of it, and the pressure of it take the better of you. And that is how you'll go confident in an interview. If you feel like movies is your thing, I used to feel reading was my thing. I would spare time and read anything that is related to, say, compassion or affection, which has nothing to do with the interviews. But if it gave me some kind of comfort, I would seek that comfort. So I would say, please take that hand which comes to help you, and connect with people who are already in IIFT if possible, or in any other college, or somebody who has passed out for years ago. It does not matter. But those kind of people, once you talk to them, you will realize that they're not that big a deal. You'll realize like they're just like you, and they don't take life too seriously. They don't fret about things that much. It's not that big a deal. They're just another person, right? That will give you some comfort in there as well. And like Aman said, be prepared. The more time you spend on thinking about, will this give me a cut, will OBC help, will NCS this and that, it won't help. Just spend your time doing work, and if you're not doing that, spend your time doing your hobbies, or at least building upon something that gives you comfort. Don't spend your time on things that just suck your energy. Okay, don't be in a lot of groups, don't be active in a lot of groups. Just know that these are my people, these are the teachers or mentors that are guiding me. Reach out for help to them only. And like Shashank said, acknowledge the fact that yes, the nervousness comes because the stakes are high, and life does change once you come in an MBA. It changes for good. You get a lot of opportunities, you get to sit with a lot of people, you make a lot of new friends, but for that you need to stay calm right now. So I would say take all of that into account and talk to yourself often, seek help. I think Shashank, there was a last question if you want to take this.
Okay. So if you're the last in GD, of course, last question, if you're the last in GD, can you just conclude by taking references from others if you don't have any point of your own? So if you're the last in GD, as we have said that I don't think that sequential GD will happen, but even if you're the last, if you cannot find a point of your own, I mean, PESTEL will more or less will help you in finding a point of your own. But even if you don't, you can always conclude, as I have already mentioned. Always take points and try to structure them in a manner that you have put forward this conclusion. And this is the conclusion of the GD. As I've already said, that GD has to be concluded, and conclusion similarly, when you starting and conclusion fetches you points in a GD, right? So that will help. It doesn't matter, right? And please do not fret about the evaluation process right now, because if you're in the Telegram group, please join the Telegram group for the information that has to be conveyed by the media committee of IIFT Delhi. So please join it. And what happens is that people are going to post their transcripts, what happened in the interview. Your interview is your personal thing. It is very individual. The kind of questions that are going to be asked would be entirely different. So please do not think on what I am going to be evaluated. Be the real yourself, maintain professionalism. That's it. That's about it.
Shashank mentioned about PESTEL. For your reference, if you don't know, it's an analysis technique. You can go and Google it and then try to use it in your GD, in your interview. Even if you have to write VAT, you can think it's a really useful technique to use. This speaks about a lot of angles that you can look at a thing from. Yeah. Okay. I think Aman, do you have any concluding remarks?
Yeah, I mean, just like to say that main, as I mentioned, I would say that the main thing that when you're giving for the interview is confidence. So even if you don't know the answers, be confident and be content with that, the fact that you're already here. Don't worry about it. Don't let that cloud anything for you, right? So when it happened with us, it happens with people who came before us and the people who came before them also. It's not that you're the only person is facing the jitters and all, right? So keep that things in perspective, and I think you should be fine. All the best. That's it.
Yeah. Again, congratulations for getting the call and all the best for what is coming. Thank you so much, Team Inside IIM, to give us the opportunity to speak to all of you. You can reach out to any one of us and ask as many questions and Fred if you want to. Shashank has a finance background. So if you think, I mean, doesn't have a background, but like an interest, but if you feel like you want to ask more about it, you can go to him. I am pursuing marketing, so you can ask me about those things. Aman, you can reach out for Broadman or any other related queries, strategy related queries if you have any. Yeah, at last I would say, like, please be calm and get your get to the work fast. Just don't always keep watching or thinking about a lot of things. Do the work, do the reading, do the note making, do the writing, do the speaking, make groups, talk about it, right? Any kind of help, anything you may need, we are here. And thank you so much for spending your time watching and listening to us for this long. Thank you.
All the best, guys. Thank you.